Hi there. I got asked a question recently, and that is why on earth do you promote the kind of like skeptical interpretation of the occult, the supernatural, and the rest of that? And predominantly that's because of like demographics. I think there's something akin to a Pareto distribution of people with different varieties of interests who are watching my kind of stuff and actually looking into this particular subject. You've probably got maybe, let's say, 20% of people who are, seasoned and experienced and basically just getting different ideas and different perspectives. And they're the ones who already have a kind of like a realistic interpretation as to what can be done and what can't. You got maybe 10% who are just curious about people who are like me and treat me a bit like some kind of like circus animal that they can laugh at or think, this guy has got something to say or something not to say on whatever wide variety of perspectives, which will roughly cover the variety of points of view that individuals have, the full spectrum. You've also got this like 70% group of people who will be quite interested in things that I say, and by their very nature will probably be relatively new to the subject and or have an interest in trying to remedy a particular problem which they feel they've got at the moment. And because they haven't found a natural way of doing things, they're looking for a supernatural way of doing things. Or alternatively, they're looking out for a religion which seems to match their mentality, their state of mind, or something along those lines. Within this 70%, I personally feel there's probably a large number of people who are quite sensitive, who probably don't need to have any more harm being caused to them by other people, whether they're of a religious disposition or not. There's probably a number of people there who've got problems which neither myself nor anybody else are actually qualified to be able to treat or cure at all, despite what some people might say, because there's always people out there, especially on the internet, who will say, yes, I can cure this for you, I can cure you of cancer if you have this fruit juice, for instance, or something stupid like that. There's people who do that and say that. Okay, and that's just the same with the occult, just it is with health, diet, fads, and all the rest of that. It's all out there, people trying to put themselves up as being a messianic figure, and as a result of that, there's an awful lot of harm which can come out of this world and can make people damaged. There has to be another point of view, which is the point of view which I am portraying, which I personally feel is more realistic, rather than me trying to sell you any particular religion or any particular cure for all ills. I'm trying to encourage investigation and experimentation rather than anything else. I've not actually come across any of these messianic figures who've been able to prove what they say. Yes, I do feel that if a certain number of people were to spend enough time practicing certain exercises, they would be able to, with a bit of extra training, be able to generate some forms of strange phenomenon. I feel that is probably true of absolutely everybody if they were to just apply themselves, because I personally feel, and I know I could be wrong, but I personally feel this is something that anybody can experience if they were to create sufficient changes in their life to be able to make something occur. But on the other hand, what good would that do people? What good would that do an individual who is an individual who's got needs, such as they need to be cured of cancer, they need to be cured of any other disease, or they're in pain because of a serious relationship issue. What good would that necessarily do them? Okay, I mean, there's other things which could help those people, including psychological help, including counseling. Some forms of religious ways of life might be able to help them as well, but essentially that would only necessarily help to a certain degree. It would not necessarily remedy the whole problem. So it wouldn't actually be all that good for me to turn into that kind of messianic figure as an experimental occultist. I don't think that that would be good. I also don't want to lead people astray. I want people to consider the phenomenon that I talk about as things which can happen, rather than necessarily something you should be afraid of, rather than necessarily something that you should worship or consider to be, proof that any one particular religion is correct or anything, or that Dean Radin himself is, the second coming, or the tarot is a Bible, or anything else like that. It's not going to be helpful to people. And so I wanted to try and make people understand considering that the vast majority of my audience will be people who are curious and want to try and get some form of result of sorts manifest in their life, for them to be able to just learn and think. And I think that the skeptical, experiential, experimental approach and attitude is a lot better than anything else, because what becomes more real to the individuals who are looking into a subject is the attitude of how and why they should get involved with these things, more than the phenomena itself. That's again something that I think, based upon introspection and contemplation of what I see around me when people are making inquiries about this stuff. If people want to be religious, then they can be religious if they want. I'm not going to stop them. If people want to develop a fearful, paranoid, superstitious religious outlook as a result of a strange experience, then essentially I wouldn't be helping them if I was to fortify the paranoia and the superstition. Alright? So, and yes, I think it is right, no matter where you're coming from on the occult spectrum, so to speak, or the New Age spectrum, to regard the phrase "it works" as being stupid, because it lays down a precedent and an attitude which cannot always be fulfilled to the requirements of the individual who is looking into the occult, in keeping with the apparent surety of the phrase "it works." Alright, my camera does work. I press the button, it works. Dead easy, dead simple, quick, reliable. Alright? Spiritual healing isn't as reliable. Therefore, other phrases and other attitudes need to be presented to people so that they don't think that spiritual healing is quite as easy or as quick or as reliable as turning on a digital camera. And there are people who lose a lot of money looking out for cures for their diseases, cure for their relationship problems, cure for this, that, and the other, or solutions for this, that, and the other via supernatural means, without actually getting the results that they want. So I wouldn't be helping those people either, unless I promote and present a skeptical, experiential, experimental, research-orientated attitude towards this subject. Alright, I think that demographic that I've discussed, that percentages of 20% seasons, 10% not really occultists or interested in the occult, but curious about people like me, and then the other 70% being relatively new, with a certain percentage of those still being sensitive people, is probably quite accurate. I mean, I obviously don't know. I don't have any comprehensive Maury polls or whatever to back that up. But that just seems to be what the demographics seem to be. The ideological demographics and demographics of people. I'm not talking about gender and age and career, position within social stratification. I'm talking about the level and the quality of interest that they have in a particular subject, which is its own form of demographic map, as it were, in its own right. And knowledge of this and accepting this is probably one of the most important things that I could do. So that's my point of view. Like it or loathe it, I'm not going to change it just because you want to have an argument with me. What I'm going to do is create something which is of me today, on a day when I'm doing a particular video, and if you don't like it, not interested. I'm not interested. Okay? This is the Nick Dutch channel, basically. This is Nick Dutch's argument. This is Nick Dutch's point of view. And, you got to accept that this is where I'm coming from.